The Biden administration is struggling to keep up with an influx of migrants at the southern border with Mexico. As of Monday, U.S. Customs and Border Protection were holding 3,200 migrant children. CBS News has discovered nearly half of those children have been held past the 3-day legal limit. Under law, the agency is obligated to transfer those children to U.S.-run shelters 72 hours after taking them into custody. Joining us now to talk more about this is CBS News immigration reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez. Hi, Camilo. So what is causing this backlog of transfers, and what conditions are these children experiencing in the meantime?
Hi, good afternoon, Tanya. To provide clarity on this situation, it is important for our viewers to know that Border Patrol agents are usually the first to encounter and apprehend unaccompanied migrant children along the U.S.-Mexico border. These minors are then supposed to be transferred to the U.S. Refugee Agency within the Department of Health and Human Services within 3 days of Border Patrol taking them into custody. But as you mentioned, these documents that we obtained show that more than 3,000 unaccompanied migrant children were stuck in Border Patrol facilities designed to hold adult men for longer periods of time. Nearly half had been held there past the 3-day legal limit that I just referenced. So these numbers really illustrate the logistical, humanitarian, and political challenges that the Biden administration faces early on in the presidency of President Biden. What is causing this backlog of children in Border Patrol custody? Well, the main reason, Tanya, is the number of kids. Last month, the U.S. Refugee Agency received more than 7,000 unaccompanied children. That is a record high for any February, Tanya. And in addition to that, the refugee agency's bed space has been limited because of social distancing policies to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Now, the refugee agency is now trying to expand its bed space, but the number of children coming in, it's rapidly growing.
And so does the White House have a plan to care for all of these children and get those transfers back on track? And in the meantime, can you describe the situation at the border where they're being kept? Because, of course, you know, we all remember the children in cages, right? So has at least the situation where they're being kept before they're transferred improved?
Sure. So I'll answer your second question first, which is that Border Patrol stations, most of them were built to detain adult migrant men for brief periods of time. They have cinder block cells, usually with one toilet. They have no beds. There are no social services there for children. And although Customs and Border Protection does have one big complex in South Texas designed for children and families that has more space and accommodations than Border Patrol stations, that facility is also designed for short-term custody. So these are not ideal conditions for children, for anyone really, but especially for children. And so we still don't really know what conditions are facing currently, but what we know is that these facilities are not designed to house children. And in terms of your first question, which is what the White House is doing to address this looming crisis, well, we know that the administration is looking at opening several influx facilities, including one in Florida, and is also looking to actually house unaccompanied migrant children at a military installation in Virginia. That's how dire the situation is. There's no bed space, and so the U.S. government is actually looking to place children at a military installation in Virginia because the installation sits on federal property, and the refugee agency, therefore, is able to circumvent the state child licensing requirements that normal shelters have to undergo.
And of course, this dire situation at the border is not the only immigration issue the Biden administration is working on, Camilo. On Monday, officials announced hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan immigrants living in the U.S. are now being offered deportation relief and work permits. Can you tell us more about this and what it means for those immigrants?
Sure. So the Biden administration told us that it expects this designation of temporary protected status to benefit up to 320,000 Venezuelan immigrants who are already in the U.S. And that is an important point, Tanya, because this benefit will not allow newcomers, new Venezuelan immigrants into the U.S. to gain work permits or deportation relief. It only benefits those who were here in the U.S. before Monday. Those people will be allowed to apply for this deportation relief, for work permits, but they will not be able to adjust their status to green card status or to U.S. citizenship. This is a temporary fix. It will last for 8 months, but it can be renewed based on a new determination by the Secretary of Homeland Security. And this is a program, Tanya, that the Trump administration tried to curtail multiple times. It tried to end TPS protections for people from El Salvador, Haiti, and other countries in Latin America and Africa, but courts did not allow the administration to end them. The Biden administration is now reviewing the termination of this program and has now created this new TPS designation for Venezuelans, which was one of Mr. Biden's main campaign promises on immigration.
All right. Well, Camilo Montoya-Galvez, thank you so much for joining us.